Hey, I'm Yoad. Welcome to my studio. Today, I'm going to talk about how I use drums from Splice, or it could be any other sample supplier, provider, library. With Splice, when you download any sample, it will go into sounds, packs, and then one-shots, cymbals, crash, and then you will find the sample. Now, if I want to look for some crashes that I have, that I purchased and are on my hard drive, and I want to use them, it's a nightmare because this way it's very complicated to find anything. The way I use this service for drums is that I download a bunch of samples, I map them onto a sampler keyboard, and then I have something like 100 samples mapped across the keyboard, so they're really very accessible. So here I have a collection of cymbals that I have selected. I'm going to drag them all into Logic. It could be any other DAW, it could be any other sample provider. So I'm just going to drag them into a new audio track. Splice samples are usually at 44.1 kilohertz. I'm going to convert them to 48 so I can drag them straight into my sessions and the sampler will play them at the session sample rate. So now I have 47 selected because this is what I can see on one page. I can't select across multiple pages, so I have to do it in a few goes. That's okay. So I'm going to select these and drag them after the ones that I dragged already. And now I have 143 samples altogether. This is too much because we only have 128 MIDI notes. Of those, only 116 are actually accessible via keyboard because G8 is 116. And most keyboards and DAWs cannot play any notes above that note. So I'm going to keep it down to maybe 100 samples across the keyboard. So let's select 100 samples. This is really convenient already because I have loads of crashes available. Some are more organic, some are more processed, but these are very useful. They all sound good because I selected them from like hundreds of other ones. So they're all ready to go, all stereo, all sound really good and useful in tracks. I can now normalize the level, set them all to a target LUFS, let's say -18, and then they will all be at the same perceived level. So when I drag them to a session or when I play them via MIDI, they will all be interchangeable. I'm going to select the first 100 samples and I'm going to drag them onto the Logic sampler. Now this can work with any sampler, battery, contact, the Ableton built-in sampler, whatever. And now I have 100 cymbals here, which I can use in any session. And this is really very convenient. I get a lot of requests from viewers to review their mixes and give them advice. I found a way that is manageable where I can give you advice on your mixes and tell you what I would do if I were sitting in front of your mix and give mix advice from my experience. All the details below. Now here I can choose which one of the samples I trigger on this pad. And the same goes to these 16 pads, but this is for another video. I will show how I map this and how this all works. So here I have 16 instances of the Logic sampler. Each one has 100 samples mapped across the keyboard. So here I have 100 bass drums. Here I have 100 snares, hi-hats, and so on. Now let's go and import another bulk of samples from Splice. The nice thing here is that I selected these kick drum samples in June. That means that these were the most popular kick drums downloaded from Splice in June, which is a great way of filtering samples, because if I'm working on a track and I want a very current kick drum sound or any other sample, I can just use whatever is most popular at that time. So I'm now going to import those kicks. One thing I find very useful is to have an impact keyboard map. So I can drag a lot of impact sounds to the session, and I can very quickly map them across the keyboard. They're ready to go. So these are so useful to, just fly in. When you're working, rather than having to go to Splice, select something, search, drag it, it works, it doesn't work, maybe search for something else. Here, I just have loads and I can just fly them in easy. So that's how I use Splice samples. Obviously, it applies to loops as well, but then you have to do tempo matching and stuff like that. This is for one-shots. Because I get 100 credits or so per month, sometimes I would look for a loop, but usually I use one-shots, and I never drag into a session and use like 800 samples. So every month I try to find the time to go and make a collection, save it as a sampler file, and then I have it accessible in all my sessions. What I find with the Splice vocal samples is that whenever I use them, they get flagged by YouTube. Even though I purchased them and I have a contract saying that I purchased them, YouTube will not allow me to use them because someone else has used the same sample or something like that. So I'm staying away from using vocal samples from Splice, but anything else, especially one-shots, I think it's fine. I never had problems with that. So that's how I use one-shot samples from Splice. If you like this video, you know what to do, and I will see you on the next one.